This video will refresh on Boxplots and the IQR rule. To start, let's go over what's included in a box plot. So here we have a data table on 8 offensive linemen from the 2011 Dallas Cowboys. It's showing their weights. And the first thing we'd want to do if we wanted to create a box plot with this data is to put it in order. All right, from here, we're going to make what's called a 5-number summary. And a 5-number summary includes the minimum and maximum and the 3 quartiles. Quartile 2 is the median. And in an even data set, the median is going to be in between 2 numbers. If we were just to cross out, we find there's 2 in the middle. We'd average them. And since they're the same thing, our median is right in between them, which is also 307. Quartile 1 is the median of the left side. So now that we found the median, which is this red line here, we're going to find the median of everything to the left of it. And we do that same thing we just did, cross out from the top and bottom. We'll end up with 2 in the middle here, and we'll average those to get 303. And then lastly, same thing for the right side. Gives us 317. Those 5 numbers are what's going to create our box plot. We'd start with our scale, make sure it's spaced out evenly, make sure it has a label on it, and then put each of these. So here's our minimum, quartile 1. Quartile 2 is the median. Remember, this is the median, not the mean. That's a common mistake. Quartile 3 is the edge of this box right here. And then this whisker would go out all the way to 345, but 345 is an outlier, so it's denoted as that little dot or sometimes an asterisk instead. The last thing that we can get from a box plot that we haven't talked about yet is the IQR. It stands for the interquartile range, and that's telling us the difference between quartile 1 and quartile 3. We just subtract them, and that's shown as the width of this box. So this box is 14 pounds wide. Now, how do we know that this point up here is an outlier? We would have to check the IQR rule. So the IQR rule tells us that anything smaller than 1.5 IQRs below quartile 1 or larger than 1.5 IQRs above quartile 3 would be considered an outlier. If we looked at this visually, the IQR is represented by the width of this box. Okay, so that's 14 wide. All right, and we multiply that by 1.5. If we move 1.5 IQRs this way, we get to that fence, all right, which we'll calculate in a second. And if we move 1.5 IQRs this way, we get to the high fence. Anything outside of that range is an outlier. So when we plug in these numbers, remember that we're using quartile 1 for the lower fence and quartile 3 for the upper fence. Okay, so we get a low fence of 282, a high fence of 338. And when we look at our original data set here, we don't have anything below 282, our smallest is 290, but we do have values that are above 338. So that 345 is an outlier. And when we draw our whisker, it's going to go to the largest number that's not an outlier. So this goes up to 324.